Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I also want to congratulate my neighbor, the Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, for bringing such a thought-provoking motion to this House. And Mr. Speaker, if there is anything important that we are going to discuss this morning, it must be Honorable Tim Wanyonyi's motion. The Honorable Tim Wanyonyi hails from a constituency called Westlands, neighboring Dagoretti South. The Westlands that we know today traditionally was part of the larger Dagoretti. And that Dagoretti belonged to a district called Kiambu. So that if you go to Honorable Tim Wanyonyi's constituency, you will find that the freehold lands that are in Westlands carry titles that are labeled Kiambu District. Kiambu District was traditionally an agricultural highlands, what was traditionally known as the White Highlands. The lands that had been grabbed from our people, that had traditionally been forested, traditional agricultural lands that belonged to the Agekoyo people who had migrated from south of Chania and come into these new lands that had traditionally been inhabited by the Adi and the Dorobo people. And over the years, these people who are migrating from the south of Chania were able to cross over to this side of Kiambu and establish agricultural lands that ended up being so productive that even the very ancient caravans that were coming all the way from Mombasa, going into the hinterlands in Uganda, would stop over in this very rich land for provisions, for food, for supplies from the farms. What this tells you, Honorable Speaker, is that areas like Kiambu have rich volcanic agricultural soil that is perfect for agriculture. But what does Kiambu look like today? Mr. Speaker, the people of Kiambu, out of need, out of urbanization, out of this globalization drive, have decided to uproot the crops that were in Kiambu so that they can plant houses to be harvesting rent. Today as we speak, places like Kiambu, the land there, the shambas, are not anything bigger than the size of a handkerchief, Mr. Speaker. To the extent that what is left for arable agricultural land is reducing by the day. Cultures are changing, Mr. Speaker. The Agekoyo people traditionally never used to bury. They used to do something called escorting. When someone got sick, you'd be escorted to the forest, and if you make it, you would come back. If you don't make it, well, the hyenas will dispose of your remains in the forest. And what would happen then is that there was that cyclic circle of life, where instead of planting what we call tombstones and graves, as we are doing today, that land would still be usable. But today, if you go to a place like Kiambu, Mr. Speaker, you will find someone with a plot of land, 1/8 of an acre. They have their house there. But even more so, they have buried their forebearers, their grandfathers and their grandfathers' grandfathers, all in marked graves. So that in that one piece of acre, 1/8 piece of land, there is a house, there is a cemetery, a family cemetery, and very little is left for agricultural land. What the Honorable Tim Wanyonyi is asking us to do here today is to rationalize this very scarce resource called land. We have seen places, Mr. Speaker, where they're serious about agriculture. Places like Holland, Canada, Australia, where they have demarcated their lands for agriculture and organized their people into living areas where individuals are able, and families and communities are able to live in a designed area of land where they leave so much land for farming and for production. Mr. Speaker, if Kenya continues in the way that we are continuing, two things are going to happen. One, we are going to get rid of all arable agricultural land, meaning that we will have to be importing food. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are going to give rise to ghettos, informal living, where we are now starting to speak about issues of national security, where we confine our people to informal settlements that are not provided for in terms of urban planning, resourcing for water, for electricity, and all these other social goods. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, and I am praying that his motion on the formulation of a land use policy on zoning of land for agricultural and built development is going to be escalated to a piece of legislation which we are able to push. And Mr. Speaker, for us to get this legislation, we must also urge the executive to come up with a policy, Mr. Speaker, so that we are not doing legislation before the policy. So, Mr. Speaker, I have to say that Honorable Tim Wanyonyi has pricked us at a time when, if we do not make changes and keep kicking the can down the road, the dangers are clear. Mr. Speaker, our country is a net importer. To reverse this country to be able to be exporting, we have to start with what we have in our hand. And what we have is agriculture, Mr. Speaker. We must consider how our agriculture is going to be meaningful, not only for food production, but also for value addition. If we start doing value addition to our agricultural produce, Mr. Speaker, then we start walking on our way towards industrialization, and then we can achieve the aspirations that we seek as a country to become a middle-income earning country, even as was projected by Vision 2030. Mr. Speaker, I want to decry the move that we have taken in terms of our attachment to land, Mr. Speaker. Our attachment to land is so emotive to a point when land issues come up, we throw out reason out of the window. But what this motion is calling us to do, Mr. Speaker, is to consider that Kenya today has a population of 50 plus million Kenyans. These 50 plus million Kenyans need places to live, but for them to live the quality of life we would want them to live, they will also need land for farming, for agriculture, for crop growing, and for animal husbandry. For us to be able to do that, we cannot continue in the haphazard manner of development that we have adopted. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable John Angeno is here, chairing a committee on housing and land and infrastructure. And what has happened in the last 3 years, Mr. Speaker, is to be celebrated in terms of the drive on affordable housing. Mr. Speaker, the model that has been brought forth by the affordable housing and the work that this committee did to make sure that this affordable housing is a reality is the way to go, Mr. Speaker, where Kenyans can agree that we shall set aside land for construction and built environment development, and we shall have land set aside for agriculture and for farming. Mr. Speaker, the housing drive, if you look at what has happened in the last 3 years, is not only dignifying the life of Kenyans, but it is also giving us an idea on how urban land life can be planned. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to join the Honorable John Angeno when the Mukuru slums were being, the people from the Mukuru slums were being issued with their keys to come into the new affordable housing in Mukuru, Mr. Speaker. And what I saw, Mr. Speaker, is phenomenal. That people who had spread out in a ghetto, in land innumerable, were able to be planned into these buildings that have good living, good amenities, good social goods provided, all the way from water to electricity to connectivity to Wi-Fi and so on. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are speaking about here today is not just theory. Kenya itself has demonstrated through affordable housing that if we put our mind to it, we can have good land set aside and zoned for agriculture, and we can have land set aside for built development. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support and I congratulate my neighbor, Honorable Tim Wanyonyi. Thank you for pricking our conscience. This is the line that countries should take towards demarcating land for built environment and land for agriculture. I thank you and I support this motion. Thank you very much.
Well said. Before the member for Kiarie contributes, join me in welcoming students from Lukenya Academy. Mavoko constituency, Machakos County. They're sitting in the speakers gallery with students also from Royal Brains School, Kiambaa constituency, Kiambu County. They're all welcome for the proceedings this morning and to the Houses of Parliament. The Honorable John Angeno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of members of this House, Mr. Speaker, I wish also to welcome the students from various schools to this august House. And my plea to all of them is that discipline is the most fundamental item in our institutions. Just a few days, we have had incidences of students burning dormitories and classrooms. I wish to urge the students who are before this House today that the properties that are being destroyed belongs to you, belongs to your parents, belong to the society. So please,